World of tennis is about to change. Tennis South Africa has appointed a man who's been credited with helping both the English Premier League's Arsenal Football Club and Cricket South Africa with getting their commercialisation strategies right. He can also name the Sharks, the Comrades Marathon, the South African Hockey Association, as well as EFC Worldwide as clients. I introduce to you Richard Glover, the new CEO of Tennis South Africa, who will be taking over from the 1st of October. Thank you so much for coming through here and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Richard, first up, I think to be congratulations definitely in order. And how does it feel to have been given the reins of this massive organization?
I'm chomping at the bit to get started, to be honest. I think tennis in this country has huge potential, and I'm really, really excited to be able to help it achieve that potential.
Right, now with that said, there's been a lot said about the malaise that Tennis South Africa has been facing over the last decade or so. Players like Amanda Kuter, Johan Kriek, Kevin Curran are gone. Players of the past, they're not involved with Tennis South Africa anyway, at least not playing. We only currently have two marquee players, Raven Klaasen and Kevin Anderson, which means we've got quite a dearth of players that we can call homegrown and South African and are standing out there. How do you fix tennis? How do you get it to where it used to be?
That's a very difficult question, as considering I haven't actually started the position yet. But I think it's a process that involves more than one person, more than one man. And really, my first priority as CEO of Tennis South Africa is really to learn, and is really to talk to as many people as possible and to build relationships, and really to try and foster a culture of collaboration within tennis across the country at all different levels. And for me, that's the number one starting point that'll really set us on our way to rebuilding tennis in this country.
I know that you've mentioned that you've actually done a little bit of homework, quite a bit of homework before agreeing to take up the role itself, and you came up with some interesting insights. One of them being that one of the bigger markets that tennis plays to in South Africa is black women.
Yeah, it was fascinating for me. In preparing for sort of the interviews, I had a look at a lot of research and data around tennis in this country. And the real, as you say, the insight that really stood out is that the number one tennis fans in this country are black women based in Gauteng, aged between the ages of 16 and 34. Now, I think there's a perception about tennis in this country being very white and being very elite, and I think there's probably some truth in that. But at the same time, there's a completely different reality out there. And I think things like the success of the Williams sisters, particularly Serena, has played a part in growing that fan demographic. But I think it's a wonderfully exciting opportunity for tennis to leverage moving forward.
That's very interesting, especially considering that the buzzword in South African sports, South African culture, is transformation. Now, how do you see your strategies fitting in line with what Fikile Mbalula has been driving so hard over the last few years?
Look, for me, as you say, transformation is absolutely critical to the future of tennis in this country, not just from a moral standpoint, which is obvious, but also from a sustainability perspective. And it really links back to what I said earlier about collaboration and about really all aspects of tennis, from grassroots all the way up through the pipeline, being on board and really being bought into the concept. Because for me, true transformation can only happen when people at all levels of the game really believe in it and are working towards a common vision and a common goal. And that's really going to be one of my focus areas and priorities moving forward.
No, very good. One of the things that comes out of this kind of this interaction is a feel for the person. And I think I'm getting a kind of feel that, yes, the accolades, your CV is fairly extensive. You've been to the Arsenal Football Club. 2008, you assisted them to get themselves online. The commercialization strategy of Cricket South Africa as well, very big. We're now seeing hockey on TV. Were you involved with that as well?
Yeah, so I was, well, for want of a better word, I was the tournament director of the new Premier Hockey League that finished on Sunday. So I've had some really, really good experience, particularly over the last 2 or 3 months of working in a sports federation in this country. So in a way, it's actually set me up really nicely for this new role at Tennis South Africa.
Very good, because one of the things that I wanted to check with you then was, for you, what does a mission accomplished sound and look like? When do you get to, or for you, when is it that you get to a point, so you know what, I'm doing what it is that I set out to do when I took on this role?
I think for me, the number one priority or focus over the next few years is very much about bringing revenue into the sport, because I think things like transformation, things like high performance, things like getting players into the top 100 rankings of the men's and women's game, it really starts with money and investing at all levels of the game. So if I can look back maybe in 4 years' time and say, I've succeeded in, or with myself and the team have succeeded in bringing more money into the game, and that money's been invested at all levels of tennis, and we're starting to see tangible results, then I think I'll be a a very satisfied CEO.
No, very good. And I also noticed that with Cricket South Africa, you'd mentioned that when you started there, it was around about the time when the IPL and the T20 were really establishing themselves
Yes.
as concrete members of the cricketing fraternity or eventing fraternity for cricket. And you felt that there was a way to build some kind of a legacy around the work that you're doing there.
Yes.
In the time that you spent there, what would you say the legacy is that you've left with Cricket South Africa?
I think probably the biggest legacy was really in the broadcasting side. While I was there, we did a very big international broadcasting deal, which is in US dollars, which is really beneficial at the moment if you look at our currency. And that's really set Cricket South Africa up from a federation perspective. And I think if you look at all the federations, Cricket South Africa is probably the richest federation in terms of money in the bank. So I'd like to think I played a small role in doing that.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you bring up the broadcast deals itself, because I believe that for tennis, because currently it's very difficult to get hold of a tennis match. Not unless you own a DSTV bouquet that you're paying for, and so on and so forth. So I would suppose that broadcast deals would be definitely part of the strategy to build up the money for tennis?
Definitely, and I think a link to that is really about what is the tennis product. I think tastes and times have changed quite dramatically, particularly in the last 4 or 5 years, social media, digital media, the rise of millennials, the rise of Generation Z. And I think from a tennis perspective, we need to look really, really closely at what those people want and really create tennis products that talk to those people. And if we do that, then broadcasting and media and it comes along naturally as part of that.
All right, then the 1st of October, have you seen your new office?
Not yet, no. I'll go and see it on Friday. Looking forward to that.
Yes. And with that said, we want to thank you so much for coming through and wishing you the best, because we're all hoping to go back to the glory days when we had tennis players contesting in quarters and semis and top 10 rankings across the board, both men and women. And we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Now, there you have it. Thank you so much, Richard Glover, the brand new CEO of Tennis South Africa.
Thank you.
All right. That's very good to be having this chat with the brand new CEO of Tennis South Africa. You heard it first, you saw it first right here on Newsroom. Now,